Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko stated today that the presidency wields too much power and promised constitutional reforms that would be prepared this year and put to a referendum in early 2022. The announcement came at a People's Assembly of 2,700 delegates gathered to debate political reform. The event is widely seen as an attempt by Lukashenko to increase his political legitimacy after last summer's falsified presidential election. Lukashenko's opponents have dismissed the People's Assembly as a sham exercise to allow him to cling to power after months of protests since a contested election last August. According to them, the constitutional referendum would be likely to be rigged as well. The draft of the constitution will be ready during this year and discussed nationwide. Starting next year, we will submit it for nationwide voting to the referendum. Lukashenko has ruled Belarus since 1994, but has faced street protests since a presidential election last August that the opposition says was rigged to enable him to win. My main condition for stepping down is peace and order in the country. No protest activities, nobody overthrowing the country, and the opinions being expressed within the norms of law. This is the main condition. Mass arrests and a crackdown on protests prompted new Western sanctions. Lukashenko has remained president thanks to diplomatic and financial support from Russia, which sees the former Soviet republic as a buffer state against NATO. The second condition, if it turns out that not the ones intended come to power and they have different views, we will put as a second condition that not even a hair of your heads, supporters of the president, can perish. At the People's Assembly, Lukashenko also thanked Russian President Vladimir Putin for the help Lukashenko received during the turmoil following the election and stated that neither leader will be toppled as long as they support each other. The Krakow prosecutor's office has initiated proceedings in connection with a fire that broke out in the archives of the City Hall on Saturday evening. The investigation is being conducted on the basis that this was a deliberate act. The fire at the archive building on Załęcze Street was finally put out on Wednesday after burning for 4 days. The archives of the Krakow City Hall included, among others, personal files of former municipal office employees, old registration forms and documents from various departments of the office. People have started spreading rumours that the fire benefited the City Hall somehow. These allegations are scandalous. We have tough times ahead of us, cleaning up the smouldering remains. I have decided to form a special committee that will be responsible for saving as many documents as possible. It will decide which documents will be considered to be still valid. The committee will consist of representatives from the police, the prosecutor's office, the state archives and the Krakow City Hall. I want full transparency in this matter. President Majchrowski has been unable to present us with information on what type of documents were present in the part of the archive that was destroyed. We don't know which category of documents we are dealing with. Were the documents of the type that are very basic or rather important? What's more, we saw from the start of the rescue operation that some documents were carried out of the building. Some were lying in the snow. We think that the Personal Data Protection Office should be involved in the process. We also call on President Majchrowski to reveal exactly which documents were in the archives.
Odpowiednią instytucją do tego będzie Urząd Ochrony Danych Osobowych.
In the past day, more than 7,000 people were diagnosed with the coronavirus and 456 died of COVID-19. More than 51,500 tests were carried out. As the number of infections remains significant, the Ministry of Education is reviewing attendance at schools. Pupils in the upper years of primary school and in high schools will continue their education remotely, and the youngest in the stationary mode, that is, at school. The 8th and high school graduation grades may benefit from individual and small group consultations. The Ministry of Health has announced that 1,267 patients are on ventilators and that a total of 12,227 COVID patients are currently in hospital. As the figure of new daily infections remains in the thousands, school children above the age of 10 are still studying remotely. The Minister of Education, Przemysław Czarnek, stresses that high school graduates and 8th graders can count on additional support from schools. We are drawing up the regulations about prolongation of the current state until the end of February. Classes 1 to 3 in stationary mode, the rest in remote mode, classes 8 and pre-graduation classes, and I would like to emphasise it that they may benefit from individual and small group consultations. Therefore, we are organising tests and pre-exams. It's been a couple of days since the teacher vaccination programme started. Registration started from Monday and up to 11 a.m. We had 50,000 registered people, and today it is about 268,000, so we may say it is a really good result. On Monday from 8 a.m. we are starting registration for those teachers who weren't in this first group and university lecturers. Therefore, for university lecturers and rectors we have a separate system of registration. Teachers emphasise that a return to stationary mode will have a great influence on pupils. Parents will also benefit from this mode. For many Poles, Fat Thursday is one of the most keenly anticipated days of the year. On the last Thursday before Lent, the penitential season before Easter, during which Christians traditionally fast, Poles eat as many pączki donuts as possible to guarantee themselves luck for the rest of the year. After some lean months during the COVID-19 pandemic, Fat Thursday finally brought some cheer to Polish confectioners as their sweet-toothed customers feasted on donuts. On the last Thursday before Lent, the period when Christians traditionally fast before Easter, Poles stuff their faces with donuts in a festival of calorific indulgence. The pandemic obviously has had an effect on our sales, a negative effect of course. We see a big decrease, but when it comes to Fat Thursday, the differences compared to the last year are not very significant. It is hard to evaluate the number of donuts we will sell because there were only a few orders from companies, as most of them are working remotely now. But we hope it will increase the sales of donuts in our shops. Poles will consume almost 100 million donuts worth up to 250 million zloty on Fat Thursday, according to analysts at BNP Paribas Bank. With many people now working from home, delivery has become a more popular option, and Sapniewski said they had a lot of boxes already prepared for delivery today. I think the pandemic has increased the number of deliveries we are doing now. We are seeing a lot of delivery boxes already prepared for today. We have orders from Uber Eats and Pyszne.pl, so we deliver donuts. Donut consumption averages out at about 2.5 per head, but for some ambitious Poles that is a poor tally on a day when many aim to eat as many as possible. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.